Okay, I'll cut to the chase. Studies show that those people with cancer who have really good support are more likely to live. It's as simple as that. And I rather suspect that I'm a good example of that, because I go back to 2016 when I was given a terminal diagnosis. I took all the support that I was given, and initially that was excellent first-class support from my local hospice. So in my case, I took up this wonderful Qigong that they were giving their terminal patients. And the only downside of that is I soon found out that all of my Qigong buddies doing it with me soon died, and therefore I'd best find another form of support. And at the time, first class support again being given out, and still is by that of Penny Bron, who at the time you could go to their magical house near Bristol and get wonderful retreats and other programs that they're offering. By the way, they're not doing the retreats, but there are lots of online programs that they're offering, which I really suggest that you look at. So meanwhile, I'd meet these other people like myself there who would all not only talk about the treatment that we're having, but we'd also talk about the other things that we were doing in order to up our chances with cancer. And you'd often get some really good ideas, plus ideas for headwear for people losing hair. Must have got a few of those there as well. And then outside of that, another magical thing that I did was hyperbaric oxygen with the local MS centre. And it wasn't necessarily people I met with cancer there, but it was people really making an effort to do well by taking hyperbaric oxygen in the chamber where half a dozen of us would sit and chat. And again, I met people like myself sometimes with cancer, and we would share our journey and again sometimes meet up and see what we're all doing. Now, my heart goes out to you because, of course, with COVID, you've not been able to get any of all that. And this has been a huge disadvantage for you. But I've mentioned Wigwam before. Wigwam are part of one of the UK's most wonderful integrative cancer charities, Yes to Life. Yes to Life recognised that support was hugely important, and so they set up Wigwam with the hope of linking people together locally and to be able to support each other going through an integrative journey with cancer. So I got in touch with Wigwam, or actually Wigwam got in touch with me, and we've done a Zoom call to tell you how they've been doing over the last couple of years, because obviously COVID has got in the way, but now with lockdown seemingly coming to an end, they're really wanting to go ahead now and help as many people link up as possible that haven't been able to do so after COVID. And so I'm going to share with you the video in a minute. Before then, now look, I've been looking at my video analytics and they're telling me that 60%, yes, 60% of you aren't subscribing. And I'd love to know why. It's free, I keep saying this, but the boost that it gives me is that my video will be put in front of more people to help spread the message. So if you haven't done so already, please click the subscribe button and thumbs up if you like it, and bell ding if you want your phone to go off each time I load a video. So moving on, let's go over and meet Claire and Philip from Wigwam, who are going to tell me all the wonderful things that they've been doing, and hopefully I'll see you on the other side and we'll have another chat then. See you soon. So hello, Philip and Claire from Wigwam. What a brilliant name, Wigwam. I love the name. So Philip, thanks for reaching out to Cancer Soothe. Perhaps you can tell me a little bit about yourself, your cancer journey, and how you got to become involved with Wigwam.
I was diagnosed about nearly 4 years ago with an aggressive prostate cancer. And I mean, it was totally overwhelming. Lots of contradictory advice from family, friends, the internet, all sorts of had particular ideas about what I should be doing and how to go forward. Completely overwhelming. And I think it was on the time I was diagnosed, I spoke to the oncologist and I said, well, what else can I do? Surely there's things like nutrition and exercise that I could do that would help with that. And I remember his sort of comment saying, oh, you're very fit, you're fit and well, just keep doing what you're doing. And I sort of went home feeling that there was something more than that. I knew there was something more that you could be doing than just what I was currently, how I was managing my life at the time. So I started looking around for information. I joined the local county prostate cancer support group, and they were great, really good advice, but it was more about the sort of conventional treatment. I think I came across research which really shocked me around exercise, and it said that the impact of exercise can reduce some cancers by as much as 40% less likely that they'll come back, less likely that they'll return. And I thought, wow, God, if this is a tablet, you know, NHS would be throwing it at us. So just hearing that you know, exercise could have such a big impact was really important. So I started to learned all this, came across Yes to Life at a stall. And I started chatting to them, and they said, oh, we got support groups. I said, oh yeah, really interested in that, but I'm not going to set up one. But if there's somebody else in our area, yeah, I'd love to hear from them. Anyway, I think it was only about 5 or 6 weeks later, a woman got in touch saying, from the area, said Yes to Life had been in touch, said, oh, but she said, I'm not going to start a group either. And I said, oh, well, let's just meet in a cafe. Anyway, we met in a cafe and we started a group. And we've been, that's sort of 3 years ago now, and we've had 10 of us or more. We've had a waiting list actually since pretty well all the time. We've had 10 of us been meeting every month since then. We've got our own WhatsApp group. And for me, it was a really just a wonderful place to just explore beyond those sort of conventional treatments, to talk to people around that sort of lifestyle stuff, the complementary medicine. We often start the group by having a conversation about where people are at and what they're up to and what scans they've had or whatever, and people share as much or as little as they want. And then we'll often have a topic. So we might have watched a video before the support group, or an article or something, or it might be somebody's got a particular interest. So we got one of the members of the group was really into kombucha, making that fermented drink. So we had a sort of little session on learning about that. But we've also done things on saunas and hypothermia, on managing hormones. We also share information about sort of local stuff or conferences. So it might be a local yoga group, or in fact, there's a Yes to Life conference coming up or something like that. And for me, it's just been
Brilliant. Can I ask you something? Going back to the very beginning, when you met this person at a cafe or whatever.
Yeah.
When you did become bigger than that, were you in each other's homes or face to face?
We did talk about renting somewhere or having somewhere, but at the time we didn't have any money, and because we only started really small with 2 or 3 of us, so we started meeting in people's houses. But some of the groups definitely do meet in halls or community centres or other places. So we started meeting in people's houses, and then that actually just carried on. Unfortunately, my house is a little bit too small, so that we only can meet here if we have a smaller group. But a couple of the other people have got slightly larger living rooms where you can get 9 or 10 of us.
So when COVID messed everything up,
yeah,
of course you had to then tackle the whole idea of technologically speaking to each other. And I assume that's where the WhatsApp app came in really handy. Did you then develop into doing this Zoom? How did you all stay in touch then? Or do you still stay in touch?
Initially it was initially Claire having conversations about our Stroud group, and I think I talked to Claire and some of the other Yes to Life, and they said, oh, we're just talking about going online. And I said, oh, that sounds really interesting. Would love to hear more about that. And ended up getting involved as now I'm involved. Yeah.
It was sort of 2 things coincided really, because I'm a trustee at Yes to Life, and I've been involved with Yes to Life for I don't know, 13, 14 years, via Rosie Daniel, actually, because after my own cancer, I did the health creation training course with Dr. Rosie Daniel, which was fantastic, and came to Yes to Life through her. But yes, I was just beginning, I'd just been asked if I would coordinate the Wigwam support groups, or the Wigwam support groups. And then literally a couple of months later, I was just getting to know the people who ran the existing groups. COVID happened, and I must have already known about Zoom. I think we'd held a few Yes to Life meetings on Zoom, and just thought, this is the way forward. And actually we can have so much more on offer online for people during this pandemic.
COVID's become gift for a lot of
yeah.
organisations, anyway, hasn't it? Because we're now able to reach out to a much larger audience. And I guess this is where I'm coming from today with this Zoom call, because my audience, you know, is starting to be all over the world. But as a concept, Wigwam can be anywhere, can't it? So it's not a matter of you need to find somebody else in Stroud. You can be an Australian, have a mate now in England.
Yeah.
So with this wonderful chance to start connecting people who perhaps still choose not to go out during COVID, where are you guys with this in terms of making connections between people all over the world, or just England?
I mean, ideally, we'd just like to conquer the UK.
But with Zoom, it makes no difference. It's an email address, isn't it?
I know. But no, really our vision is, you know, not all online. Our vision would be that, you know, that we could have a map on the Wigwam website that would show all the Wigwam groups that happened in place around the country. That's the vision. And at the moment, it's been mainly online this last year, but we're feeling like now's the time that people who want to set up in their area can do, and we can start supporting them to do that. But as you say, there is a great advantage to online, because people in remote areas or who are too ill, you know, affected by the cancer or side effects of treatment to, you know, to get up and get out to places can still attend the groups. I mean, the mindfulness group that I run, you know, I've had people joining from bed, you know, which is wonderful that people can sort of get support and be able to do practices from their own bedroom.
Yeah, and it's been a wonderful support. We've had a couple of people who've been really seriously unwell, and it's been, the group has sort of come round, and there was one woman who 3 or 4 of the group actually ended up cooking regular meals for her and her family.
If there's somebody listening in now that likes the idea of setting up a support group in their town, let's say, what would they do? They'd email you guys, and how would you go about assisting them to make that happen if they wanted that, what sounds like really wonderful help, Philip, in terms of what your lady had, the practical side, you know that sounds amazing. How would you go about helping somebody set up a Wigwam group?
So the first step would be going to our website,
the support group, your support groups or something, and you go down to get involved, and I guess then one of us will be in touch and probably have a telephone conversation about it. We would be able to check to see if there are any Wigwammers already in that area. So a couple of times we've had people who sort of might be interested in that area already to perhaps meet them, or we're in the process of we've got already some resources that are available to people who might be interested in setting up a group, but we might also be able to help produce some of the sort of advertising or leaflets or ideas for them to contact other people. But generally, most of the groups have happened through quite a little bit through word of mouth. So often it's people either chatting to other people when they're having their chemo or their radiotherapy, or other people they've sort of come across in their town. That's often the best way the groups have grown, but they all grow differently.
Yeah, and in terms of help starting off, though, you know, there's something on the website about why would you want to be a Wigwam facilitator, so people can just sort of look at that and, you know, the sort of qualities that are helpful. And then we've got, you know, some written guidelines of, you know, how to set up and run a group and things to think about and things that help. And, you know, they're really comprehensive. Plus, we have, you know, when we have a, you know, peer support group for Wigwam facilitators that meets approximately monthly or 2 monthly, where all the facilitators come together, and then they can talk about things that are going well, what the challenges are, and new ideas.
So during this strange time with COVID, if somebody was interested, they don't necessarily have to open their own doors to lots of people coming in, which I'm sure lots of people would be very wary of. But they could be in charge of Zoom calls, creating the same sort of thing online.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Absolutely.
And so how could you guys help them in terms of boosting their ability to connect with others that way?
We've got, I mean, every week we get 3 or 4 people inquiring about support groups or wanting to join support groups. And I guess I have conversations with some of those people, and some of them may well be interested. If we know the shape of those online groups or groups that people can be part of, then that may well interest them. So that's one of the ways. Obviously supporting them if they've got a particular focus. We've got a group that may start around Black women who want to meet together to talk about sort of integrative medicine, but there's another group that may be interested in doing art together, but it's actually a cancer art group as well. So there may be other sort of flavors to the group as well that people might be interested in or might be possible. But I guess it's having a conversation with people about what they might want, and then pointing people in the right direction. So all the groups they have the same sort of key principles. So they're all about how you support each other and trying to create a safe environment so that people can talk honestly and openly if they want to talk, and confidentiality around, so they're not sharing information outside the group. It's about how we welcome all and give people a chance to speak who perhaps maybe feel less able to speak in groups. It's key about taking that integrative approach. So it's about conventional, lifestyle and complementary, and not judging people who might choose one or other of those or more of one of those or less of one of those. It's about people respecting people for their own journey. So we're not trying to give advice or push a particular product or treatment or any of those sorts of things. And also being aware that the support group is about peer support, but the support group can't sort out all the problems and all the challenges. So it might be that people need to go elsewhere for some of that emotional support for their own, to have counselling or a helpline or find other ways to get that support. But I guess the support group's a place for some people to find out what they perhaps need and that might be, it's just part of the mix of support, really.
Really it's just a wonderful place to come together with other people facing same sort of challenges.
I mean, Wigwam, I've been amazed at the wonderful webinars and podcasts that Wigwam creates. And of course, recently you had that amazing one with Jane McClelland. So those must be a brilliant thing that your small groups can start to talk about. Because it's a little bit like a book group, isn't it? You've got the Wigwam podcast that you can bring to the table to open the conversation up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, and there's such a range of amazing speakers we've had. When you go on there, most of them are recorded and available free on the website. So you would need to register on the website, top right-hand corner, I think it is. Basically, then you can get access to all those free videos. And yes, they are a great starting point. So they've got things like around fatigue or gut health or mushrooms or human connection. And then we've got also lots of functional medicine or doctors talking as well. So there's a whole series of them. So if you're wanting to know a little bit more about, should I go and see so-and-so, there might be a video or a podcast they've done. And we've got 5 years worth of radio shows that Yes to Life have done with Robin Daly, who's interviewed people every week for the last more than 5 years now. So pretty well all functional medicine people in the world, not quite, he hasn't done them quite all yet, but a lot of those are on there, and you can search again that resource to hear them.
Because of course that's the thing about taking the complementary approach, isn't it? Once you start to go down this road, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of family think that you're perhaps going to die sooner because you're not taking the orthodox medicine route seriously. But of course, that's not what we're doing at all. We're doing it as well as, and meeting other people that think like that see a broader picture to the whole subject is the beauty of these groups, isn't it? And that you can really develop a strategy forward that gives you more solid basis for success.
I was just going to say, I think people really value hearing it from other people living with cancer. So it's lovely to hear other people's paths. And in the support groups, you obviously get some people who are, fairly recently diagnosed, and others who might be 2 or 3 years down the line. So, the support amongst people and the learning is amazing. And when people come together with, when they're facing similar challenges, there's all the things we've talked about, but there's also laughter that comes in that, that maybe doesn't happen with family and friends because they're all feeling like it's serious and you can't say anything. But then when it's with people going through the same thing, you can end up laughing about things that are actually really difficult, but that brings a sense of relief.
Absolutely.
That's a huge benefit. Yeah.
And we've had several people say, I would never have joined a support group. I would never join one. And now I'm here and I can't believe it's one of the best things I'm doing. So I think, I mean, well, and support, we know, again, lots of growing research around the impact support has. I know Kelly Turner in a book, when she looked at over 1,000 people who had radical remissions, got better or had no evidence of disease around their cancer, one of the key things that she picked out, one of those key areas was support. And I know lots of other people like, Lorenzo Cohen and Alison Jeffries, they've written a lovely book. And again, they say support is, their word, wrote it down somewhere, backbone on which all other lifestyle changes will either succeed or fail. So if you've got support, you're more likely to be able to carry on doing that diet, or get to your exercise class, or all of those sorts of things. So that support is absolutely key. And we know also research around loneliness. I think, it's showing how people who are lonely have much, poorer outcomes in terms of general health and in terms of cancer. And I think it was really frightening when I heard Penny Braun's research earlier this year showing that 8 out of 10 people with cancer of their clients at Penny Braun had experienced loneliness at some point or other. So that's a really significant number. And there's lots of, as I said, lots of research showing how important it is. There was research into breast cancer, I remember back in 2005, and it showed that, what was it? I've got to write it down somewhere here. Those women with breast cancer with greater support outside their homes, the support coming from outside their homes, was 60% less likely to die from cancer a decade after their diagnosis. So again, showing how important that support is. So it's really crucial.
Yeah, and at this time in COVID, I really feel for anybody who has been given a diagnosis in the last 12 months. I can't imagine how difficult it's been, because just every day waking up thinking the first thing that goes to your mind is the cancer, isn't it? And not having any outreach, let alone physical outreach. But yeah, this is what you guys are all about, isn't it? Being there for people, encouraging people, supporting them over and above everything else that they're doing. I think it's great.
The whole, fear and uncertainty that comes with cancer is immense. And, even after you've been all the way through your treatment, I think that point at the end is almost the worst. Because while you're going through treatment, particularly if you're having conventional treatment, you've got the team rallying around you at the hospital. Family and friends are rallying around a bit because you're going through some sort of grueling treatment. And then at the end, you're just left and that's it. You're supposed to be fine now. And actually, so all you've got is this massive fear that it's going to come back. So I think any way we can help people, support people to talk with each other, or, develop coping strategies.
I think I just wanted to add that your videos, Julie, also are part of that, because when you're hearing somebody else's story, their inspiring story, and the way you talk about it, you sort of break it down to make it more simple, so around diet or whatever it is, because these areas are so complex and so challenging especially when you're first diagnosed. I'm 3-4 years on now, and I'm still struggle with some of this, and still find it difficult to find my way through some of these things. There's still lots of conflicting information. So finding those sort of reassuring, inspirational videos as well is another key way I think we can get support.
Yeah, and let's face it, Philip, you and I met at a Penny Braun retreat, didn't we?
Yes.
And those have not been available the last 12 months, and this is why the work that you're doing now is so critical and more important than ever. Ready for, the country opening back up again, moving forwards, creating a wigwam group locally. I mean, that's got to be the answer, hasn't it? New beginning for everyone.
Lovely.
Yeah. Well, thank you both of you for joining today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
So what do you think? Do you think that maybe you're getting in touch with Wigwam, see if there's somebody living down the road or in the same town as you that you can have a chat with? Or perhaps you maybe would like to run a group of your own. do get in touch. They got the most wonderful support there to help show you how to do that, and maybe gee up a few buddies that maybe you've met at chemo and get something off the ground too. So hopefully you found that all interesting, and I really do encourage you to get something going where you're meeting other people who you can share your journey with, because it goes a really long way and it makes the whole thing so much more fun. So there we are. Go and do it. See you soon.